we see a lot of these little tunnels. See this over here? These very, very little temporary ones, not quite a big mound just yet. And normally we see them, all the different species of termites, creating these very small, very thin layers of sand over bits of vegetation. Now, I know you've heard this before, but termites have a very, very sensitive exoskeleton. So the harsh African sun that is shining down on me, it's no good for them, unfortunately, and that's why they come out at night, and their mainly work is to avoid the heat of the day. But at night, while they're looking around and foraging and bringing back all sorts of organic matter back to the mound, they'll also create these little temporary structures, and that allows them then to work during the day. Quite like we saw that soldier that was out, even though that little termite that we saw was so small. Let's see if we can see him again. I think he could have gone back in. But obviously from me touching and feeling the mound, there was a bit of vibrations coming through. He is. See, there's a soldier. And he's come out to investigate and see what's causing all of the vibrations and the nonsense out here. And I'm sure my voice is rumbling down into the chimneys. And just checking, but worked out that there's nothing here. We're not eating anything. We're just having a look, and I was touching it. And eventually he's going to go back in and go and tell the rest of the workers and the soldiers and the queen that there is no threat whatsoever. It's just Taylor McCurdy digging away, causing havoc. Now, I want to go and find another big termite mound. Let's see. Let's go this way. So as we make our way towards the big termite mounds in search of a large fungus growing termite mound, I have to say thanks to, I keep touching my mic. I'm sure you've seen I love to talk with my hands. I've been mocked my entire life because I talk so much with my hands. That's why I've got a stick. And I just wanted to say thanks, Jeffrey, for the compliment, saying that I look like I'm enjoying this and I'm doing well. Thank you very much. It's good to know. And yes, of course, I absolutely will go this way just to make it easier for VM Shame, because I don't want him to get tangled up in all the trees. I absolutely love being down on the ground. I think that there's so much more that you can see. And when you've got amazing mentors like Brent, like Jamie, like Steph, like James, you know, when you get an opportunity to go for a walk with all of them, I can't tell you the wealth of knowledge that they share with me. So that's what I'm very excited about. I love driving. Obviously we get to get close with the different animals. On foot you can't get as close, and we don't want to get close. But to be able to, instead of having to jump in and out of a vehicle the entire time, I'm here. I can kick over a bit of elephant dung, look for termites, look for spiders, and I'm excited as well as the weather gets hotter and hotter. Hopefully we're going to see some activity from the reptiles. I'd like to try and find some snakes. Now, you can see that this termite mound is closed. It's not open for business at the moment. No big chimneys. Doesn't even look very active anymore. I don't think it is. I think the top part of the mound, I don't think it's really, like I said, open for business, and I think that they are working below the surface of the earth. Now, I'm sure most of you may remember that a termite mound is very much like, well, in this case, the large fungus growing termite mounds are very much like icebergs. Is that 1/3 is only above the surface and 2/3 is actually all the way below the surface of the earth. Quite incredible. Right, we need to go find our next termite mound. VM, which termite mound do you think we should go to next? That one. Let's go to that one. We'd be zigzagging, which is quite effective because it means that we are able to cover quite a bit of ground. Ooh. Hang on, let's have a look here. I've got ants. We haven't got termites, and of course ants and termites are in no way related. Have a look at them. They're working again. Oh, here's them. Looks like the mound from the ants. Look at this big one that's coming through here. Now, what are you? That looks like a soldier. I don't know if you can see, it's going under the leaves. There it comes out there. These look like exactly the same ants that we saw before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are safari ants. So safari ants are quite amazing. They're the ones, there comes another one. They are the ones that will often come through your kitchen if you live in South Africa or Africa, and they'll clean up all the cockroaches and flies and things that perhaps have died and are lurking in the corners. Or if you drop a bit of breadcrumbs, don't worry, the safari ants will take care of that. Now, this is quite interesting because I thought that the soldiers weren't this big, but it seems as though we've been actually watching the workers running up and down, and perhaps these big soldiers went out before to go and survey and maybe find a mound of whatever they may be looking for. They're carrying all sorts of goodies. Look at this one. This one looks like it's got eggs or something in it. I don't know what it's carrying. There's another one. Maybe they had a mound that was raided, and perhaps they're trying to relocate, because it does look like they're carrying eggs, doesn't it? Isn't that incredible? Racing up and down here. Now, the termites haven't been on form this morning. However, the ants are doing a fantastic job. They're very much like bees in the terms that they have the caste system, where they have kings, queens, workers and soldiers all living. Oh, try and follow them. Let's try and track ants. They don't really leave too much of a footprint, especially on the sand vegetation. Let's see where they are coming from or where they're going to. We can see them moving along here, racing along. Right, now I've got to look carefully because they're quite small, as you saw. Coming over here, you can see here's a bit of a line forming. They go down underneath the leaves. Oh, hang on, and then they do a loop. Look at this. You see they're coming through here. And here's some of those temporary structures that I was telling you about that the termites make. You can see all of that. This has been obviously trodden on by maybe an elephant. Look at that. Oh my goodness, look at the ant pathway. Can you see? Oh, now they've scattered a bit. You can see there's a bit of a frenzy. But can you see that they're actually walking on their own pathway? So not only do elephants, do we have roads and pathways and big hippo pathways, you name it, even something as small as an ant has its own pathway. Isn't that quite amazing? I'm going to move away from them. I know it seems silly because they just are ants, but we did disturb them slightly. I think they thought that maybe Vian's camera was perhaps a bird or something coming down on top of them, and they wah! And frenzied and ran away. So we'll let them get back into line again. And don't worry, James Richard, I'm going to come back. I'm going to think of my favorite story that I've ever had on a bushwalk. And while I think of that, let's go back to Jamie with those adorable Nkahuma cubs.
Adorable indeed, although thoroughly dirty after their evening/morning spent rolling about in buffalo carcass. They are a little bit grubby, and one of them, despite... that jackal was getting closer, but he's just dashed away because the lioness scared him. Well, something I've been thinking about while I've been watching this lion is the obsessive way that they cover their scat and the stomach contents, and they do it, despite the fact that there's probably not much out here that's a threat to these lions at the moment. And also the rotting smell of the buffalo carcass I would have thought would travel almost as far as the stomach content smell. It is just interesting, that cat-like instinct to cover up their mess, essentially. I find it fascinating. And it's almost obsessive. This lioness has been doing this for the last 5 minutes, just constantly digging to cover up whatever waste material is around there. And the explanation, of course, is to cover up the scent, but beyond that, I don't really have an explanation as to why the need to continually do it. I'm sure some of you perhaps have house cats that do it as obsessively, maybe. Mine at home would just bury whatever she happened to produce. Oh, hello, where on earth did you come from? Oh, hey, you know what? I found the young lioness and the second male. Well, that's embarrassing. Look who's there. The second Birmingham boy and the young lioness that he's been keeping company. Surprise, surprise, who would have guessed it? I don't have an excuse, actually, except that I've been so distracted by the cubs I forgot to look left, which just goes to show if you look to the right, you will see nothing on your left. I'm a little bit embarrassed now. I cannot believe I didn't spot 2 lions lying 50 meters away from me. That is tragic. I blame the cubs. They're too cute this morning, and I got distracted. Yes, it's all your fault. You really don't care. Sure, well, since our cubs are all relaxed and not too much is happening here, and the jackal's been chased off, shall we go and have a look at the young lioness and her friend? See how his face is doing, perhaps. I'm curious to see how the healing process is going. Yesterday when I saw him, it's still looking... It looks... I wouldn't actually say it looks much better. It doesn't look much worse either. I think it's just going to take him a really long time to heal from that particular injury, especially because it's so close to the sinuses. I still think he's going to be absolutely fine though, really. The resilience of these animals is phenomenal. Hello, boy. I'd like to say where have you been hiding, but I guess I know now. They might not have been there the whole time. I'm just saying, they might not have been there the whole time. They might have moved in. Maybe. Possibly. Chandra didn't see them either. Oh, sorry, Chandra. I didn't actually mean to put you into the tree for laughing at me. With me. Okay, with me. Hello, boy. This particular Birmingham boy, I feel, always requires slightly more space. Particularly when he's guarding females. I've just noticed he's not aggressive. He just prefers to have a little bit more personal space. Otherwise his tail starts to thrash. He starts getting a little bit angsty and upset. I think he's particularly protective over the females that he's managed to get. And probably with his face like that, he's probably feeling extra specially sensitive. He's still swollen, still sore, obviously presenting us with the wrong side at the moment, and I'm not going to I'm not going to bother them by driving all the way around to check out the other side. So we'll just wait patiently for the opportunity to examine his injury. He looks in perfectly good condition. He's eaten, and apparently, according to Alec, who witnessed this buffalo hunt, he was actually responsible for bringing that buffalo down. Well, no wonder there's hardly anything left with this many lions and two males. It's actually no surprise that there's nothing. I'm impressed at how full their bellies are, actually, because that's a lot of hungry lions to feed. 5 females, 8 cubs and 2 males, bearing in mind that a lion can eat roughly 5% of their body weight in one go. It's a lot of meat. Oh, the honeymoon couple. Oh, now the cubs have gone up to the male on the other side. Not the most fantastic view, but the cubs have all just gone up to approach the male. Oh. Half yawn. A very tolerant, patient dad. Ryan, while we're looking at the little cubs and their dad, he wants to know how often a female will have cubs. Roughly every 2 to 2.5 years is the average, but I'm saying that if that were to be in an ideal situation. So what does happen is generally a female will have her cubs, and she'll come into estrus towards the end of about 1.5 years, when the cubs are about 1.5 years old. She'll start to mate, but her first few estrus cycles, her first few mating cycles probably won't be successful, and then she'll fall pregnant again. But that will change, that average will change, because generally male lions are not in power for more than 2 years. In other words, not dominant over pride for much more than 2 years. It differs, so that depends on what's happening, on circumstances outside of the lion pride themselves. But that's the general situation, and it's to prevent the males from mating with their daughters. So what will happen if, let's say, at the end of 2 years, the lionesses come back into estrus again, and the Birmingham boys lose power. So younger males come in and take over. The females will go into a series of false estruses before they do actually go into a true estrus or a true heat cycle to fall pregnant, because they want to, their bodies, it's amazing how evolution has worked. I mean, they don't do this consciously, but their bodies, they don't want to waste the resources on falling pregnant. When males that in their first 6 months that have just taken over, there's a good chance they could be dispersed as well. So there's no point in wasting resources on cubs that are probably going to be killed. It's like the lioness's body knows that the males have to establish themselves before they start to produce offspring. It's incredible. Now that's a sort of the answer is really, because it differs It depends very much on the circumstances. There's his injury, a little bit visible. I can't see inside. Oh, there we go. It looks a little better to me. Ah, that's much better. It's still a massive hole, and there's still obviously infection eating away on the outside edge, but that is much, much better. See, he's going to be absolutely fine. I think that looks healthy and pink, from what I can see in my monitor. Well done, boy. You've done well. You've done really, really well. If we were a human being, we would be in hospital getting... Oh. Shame. Oh, shame, that hurts him, though. You can hear the little growl every time he sneezes. Probably got very irritated sinuses. But yes, if we were a human being... we are human beings. If he were a human being, obviously that's what I'm trying to say. If he were a human being, he would be in hospital with intravenous antibiotics and on a whole number of different broad spectrums, and probably feeling thoroughly sorry for himself. As it is, he's a big male lion. Life is tough out here, and as a result, the lions are even tougher. He's going to be absolutely fine. He's just been in some serious discomfort for quite a long time. Shame, boy. Not so nice, huh? But at least you've got your lady to keep you company. And the young lioness, again, going into estrus. This is a relatively regular occurrence. And again, false estrus initially, or at least not a full estrus for her first few estrus cycles, just because her body is still maturing. But relatively soon, I think there's a very good chance she's going to fall pregnant. For now, though, she has to deal with almost constant harassment by the males. As our lions snooze away, I think we're probably going to shift around and get a reposition to see the cubs again. Let's head across to Brent, find out what he's been up to.
Now these buffalo keep making my morning more and more difficult. So I'm hoping she's got a kill. So I've been checking on foot every single tree that a good spot to hoist something. And I checked a lot of this northern block till I got down towards the eastern side of it. And then I got that quintessential buffalo bull down the nose look. So I decided I was not going to take him on today, and I moved back to the vehicle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go slowly down here and look up into the trees with binoculars. Those, however, are not Karula and the cubs. It is a pair of grooming yellow-billed hornbills, enjoying the morning sun, getting all their feathers fluffed. When you look at birds, I consider all of them, all the male birds at least, must be metrosexuals, because they spend all their time fluffing and preening and primping and definitely spend more time trying to look good than the ladies. And like most of the people in the Johannesburg gyms these days. Now, of course, there's a very important reason why they do that. Firstly, they're probably removing any little mites and parasites. And secondly, if their feathers aren't all perfectly aligned, it does make flight quite difficult. And as flight is something that's quite important for the majority of the bird species outside the ostriches and emus. And it is probably a good thing they take their time prepping and preening their feathers. thought I heard something there. Okay, well, let's leave those birds. And speaking of birds, Julia says, one day, could we start drive in front of the Juma camera and identify the birds calling for you? We shall definitely try, Julia. Unfortunately, we can't go there when there's guests in the lodge. And unfortunately, this morning was the last morning without guests for quite some time. But just to remind Final Control, to remind me, and I will certainly try to do that for you, Julia. But now, while we keep our search going for the Queen of Juma, Jamie has got a little canine that's hanging around the cats.
Our little canid is really trying his luck, and he has been spotted by a lioness that is not terribly impressed with its presence. So our little jackal decided now was a good time to make an approach, since the carcass has been abandoned for now, but the lionesses are not having any of it. And now we have a standoff. She's hot, heavy, full of food, and she doesn't really want to run anywhere. And the jackal knows he is small and nimble enough, or she, I don't know if it's a male or a female, small and nimble enough to shift around and dart away from her. And now it's just a matter of which way are they going to go. She's hot and tired, and I reckon she's going to lie down soon. But is she going to go and lie down next to the carcass? There's not much shade. I think these are all the questions she's debating in her mind. She's come to a conclusion, and down she goes. Oh, now is the jackal going to be brave enough? She's watching carefully. And the jackal's just waiting for that opportunity, just at that moment where she puts her head down. Here comes the jackal back into view again. Sneaking forward, step by step. This changes the game a little bit. The fact that the cubs have now come to join this female probably means that the jackal is not going to make an approach. And the reason I say that is just because it will know instinctively that a mother protecting cubs, even though he is of no threat to the cubs, a mother protecting cubs is she's more likely to be more aggressive and more defensive of the cubs. I wonder if she thought perhaps she'd got off scot-free. Could perhaps have a moment to just lie down and not be clawed, scratched, or climbed upon. No, no such luck. Not a moment's rest for these poor females at the moment. But she is going back towards the rest of the group, leading the cubs with her. Now, will the jackal take this chance? It definitely wants something a bit more than leopard scat for breakfast. Lion scat. Interestingly enough, that's also our way out, Chandra. Well, that was our way out. It's the road that we came in on. It's not an easy block to navigate. Blocked by a pride of lions once again. Oh. Such a lovely scene. Still looking back towards the carcass. Here comes the jackal. Ooh, you're very brave. You're still being watched. He's going for it. Cautiously. And now we have a question as to whether or not the lioness can be bothered to get up again. I think she can. She's toying with it. We're gonna keep watching the jackal. I'm gonna keep half an eye on the lioness as well. I'll keep describing what she's up to. She's got her head up and she's looking at him, but she hasn't moved. Ah, she's up. Vulture and one running lioness. Go away. This is my breakfast. I might not want to eat it right now. The jackals immediately decided to trot back towards, just waiting. The conundrum facing many a lioness and lion and leopard. They're very good at certain things, but lionesses, in fact all big cats, are not always all that good at problem solving. Trying to figure out why she can't drag the carcass over a tree and why it might be easier to go around it is one step a little bit too far. She wants to drag it down back closer to the rest of the pride because she wants to go and lie there. She doesn't want the scavengers to have any. She doesn't really want to have any herself. All in all, it's quite the conundrum for our poor lioness. What you gonna do, girl? You can't spend your whole time dashing backwards and forwards. It's just not very sensible. Maybe it's somebody else's turn. And back she goes. And this backwards and forwards between the scavengers and the predators are probably going to continue for a long time. The rest of the pride don't look like they could care less. Perhaps it's the job being allocated to her. Oh, a rare moment of affection there. Don't often see the Nkuhumas go up and greet the Birmingham boys. We do see it. Ah, yes, he's having a jolly good sniff. Nope, sorry, buddy. Nice to see that kind of affection. Usually you see the head rub greeting gesture between females, members of the same pride and cubs, and males as well. Ha! The jackal's pulled a sneaky maneuver. She can't see him from where she is, but the jackal has just popped out. He's decided to try for a different angle, although I have to say it's probably not the most sensible one. Ah! Never mind, his opportunity is gone. Look who's coming. Sorry everybody, I can't reposition at the moment. This is so interesting. The two males have obviously come into conflict recently. The mothers are immediately shepherding the cubs away. They're leading the cubs away, just in case there is a scrap between the two males. That's incredible. He's courting her. She's not ready yet. She's not ready to mate yet. And he's blocked her from moving where she wanted to go, which was to the rest of the pride. Now, how interesting is this? Look at this dynamic that's playing out. Male lion here, cubs over there, disappearing off into the distance, led away just in case there's a fight. Two lionesses who aren't terribly bothered, and one jackal that's taken advantage. He's there. Ah, so close, so close. There's too much happening here, Gendre, sorry. I'm sending you bouncing all over the place. Taking advantage of the momentary lapse in attention. As soon as that growling started, it's amazing. Oh, here comes the vulture as well. But the lions are up. The young lioness wants to chase them away. The big male won't let her go anywhere because that's what male lions do when females are coming into estrus. She's trying to say to him, listen, you idiot, I really want to go just chase, protect our food, don't you see? He's going, am I going to, are you interested yet? Are you ready yet? Shame. And there the scavengers just taking their opportunity. And female trying to talk some sense into him, but it's not working. And the scavengers getting closer and closer. Now the jackal is moving in. The vulture and the jackal adopting a very similar approach. James Richard has suggested perhaps our jackal friend should go and search for some jackleberry berries, instead of risking this, since that would be a much safer endeavour than this one. Well, James, I think this jackal's played its cards exactly right. Oh, taking advantage of a moment of indecision from the entire lion pride and their lack of attention. Still not quite brave enough, though. He's so close. So close to the carcass, but it's just not worth that risk. Because although the chances are very slim, if a lion were to catch him, it'd be dead. They would absolutely kill it. Particularly a young lion. He's about to get a smack. She's seriously thinking about it. She just wants to go and eat. She's not nearly as full as the others. He stopped her from eating again. He was probably involved in the hunt, but hasn't been allowed to feed. This is what courting male lions do. Block the movement of the females. Now there's some serious communication happening here with the males as well. He is massive. He is much bigger than that male. And that growling instantly got the message across. And off he vanishes. No conflict, no fighting. Jackal! Yay! The jackal's made it. Almost. Kind of. Let's at least manage the stomach contents. Aha! Now the jackal wants to chase the vulture away. Okay, it's a difficult position to be in because I don't really want to miss any of the action. I'm going to reposition, I think. There you go, Siberia Zubi. He was saying he's surprised that the jackal doesn't go after a vulture while it's not paying attention. It is an interesting one. A jackal's a little bit tiny to take on a vulture without risking quite serious injury. It is possible, but it's unlikely that the jackal would try and actively hunt a vulture, especially not a jackal on its own. Even a hooded vulture, which is quite small, they're very powerful birds. And they've got strong bills. Where are you going, you silly thing? Now's your time. Now's the moment. Everybody's left. Look, the vulture's got it right. Yes, the vulture's got it right. There you go. Come on. Yeah, come on. Interesting. It's at least managed to get something. I'm not quite sure what it was. And for the most part, the two scavengers content to share each other's space, provided everybody's respected. And there you can see the caution of the jackal, grabbing something and then not eating it immediately, moving off slightly, constantly surveying the area around it. It almost does seem like an exhausting effort. It seems like he's spending more energy looking over its shoulder than it's gaining by actually feeding off the scraps. The temptation is there. Not quite brave enough to get in properly to the carcass. That skinny tail keeps throwing me completely. It's such a weird look for a jackal. Usually they have quite a thick bushy tail. Oh, the lioness is up once again. That spells the end of the jackal's attempts. Oh, come on, buddy. She's hungry. You can see how closely he is and how he's blocking her. All right. Oh, there's going to be a scrap in a moment, or potential scrap in a moment. She just wants to feed. Inching closer to the carcass. Okay. Well, they've settled for now. For the meantime, let's... Let's just wait for a little bit just to see how the scenario plays out. She's getting crosser and crosser. That's not really a word. Angrier and angrier is perhaps a better one. Okay, we can reposition now, just to shift with the sun. All right. Phlegm and grimace. That can't be very comfortable with such a sore face. So he's sucking in her scent, trying to test whether or not she's ready to mate yet, which she isn't, I don't think. But she's getting close, and pulling the scent up to the roof of his mouth to the vomeral nasal organ, so that he can taste the smell. And that is one seriously unimpressed lioness. Once more, one more phlegm and grimace, and then I think things have pretty much calmed down. Amazing interaction. Alright, while these two lions sort out their troubles, let's head across to Taylor and find out what she's up to.
I started off this morning saying that I wanted to find a tree that had been pushed over by the elephants, and I think I found the most beautiful specimen in the Sabi sand. This is a knobthorn. Well, it was a knobthorn. It's now, as you can see, a horizontal knobthorn. And I'm sure you can see as well. Let me try and balance. It's an amazing bit of sand that has stayed with the tree once it's been pushed over. And what I quite like is that you can still see all the grass. So it's not living anymore, unfortunately. But there's still lots and lots of grass that is attached. Now, we know that during the winter months of the year in South Africa, or even in Africa, the elephants tend to be a little bit more on the destructive side, just because they are looking for food. Perfect example, they pushed this tree over, exposing all these amazing roots that would have been filled with at some point they would have been nice and juicy and filled with nutrients, and that's what they would have been munching on. And I always say this, is that as destructive as that elephants can be, I also think that they lend a helping hand. I'm sure when they pushed this tree over, perhaps it would have had some nice green leaves on it. And things like bushbuck, things like kudu could have come and fed off of this tree. And it also provides a shelter. Now, you're going to just have to take my word for this, but just as we arrived, you won't believe who was hiding underneath this tree. A scrub hare. So, beautiful spot. Nice, lots of thorns. Not nice for something like a big eagle that would be flying overhead. They'd probably leave that scrub hare alone. It's a bit too tricky for them to get in there. So I hope that scrub hare finds another good spot, or perhaps comes back here. Now, something else caught my eye as usual. You know, I never concentrate on one thing. I saw something shiny just around the corner, and shiny it is. It's been bothering me. I've been staring at it for the last few minutes. Can you see how shiny that is over there? Look at that shiny thing. Now I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to show you what it once was. Look at this. Should we? I'm going to empty the sand out. Got the sand in my eyes. Can you see that? It's just the carapace of some beetle, as you can see. I'm just always checking around me. I heard some impala alarm calling. I see some impala running very fast. No, I think it's just the males, sorry. Just need to a little scan around me because we are out here on our own. Now, so I think what's happened here is the hornbills, my favorite friend. I think they've managed to find this beetle of some sort, and they're very delicate actually when they do try and take out all the yummy inside bits. They don't particularly want to eat this hard outside. It's got no nutrition at all, and so what they do is they sort of crunch around at it a little bit like you would almost crack an egg, a boiled egg, a hard-boiled egg, and they crack it until they can pull the head off, which will then expose all the lovely gooey bits, and pull that out. And then you get left with something that's hollow like this. That's not all that I found that's down on the ground. Look, we've got some porcupine poo. Take out my wand, which VM kindly spotted, because I can only spot the shiny things, of course. That seems to be the only thing that follows me around. Look at the porcupine poo. There's lots of it around here. Now, it's quite old. Let's see if we can break it up a little bit. Lovely red color, often see it. Porcupines. No anything like that? Okay, not too much interesting in the porcupine today. Now one more thing would go around. I found a little digging. Let's go see. Now I wonder if that porcupine poo is perhaps not related to this. Now James, Richard, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about my favorite story. Let me tell you about that as we make our way towards the hole. I'm thinking about it and I'm tossing and turning between two stories. It's either the story about discovering a waterfall down in the Eastern Cape, but I think I'll save that for a rainy day, and I'm going to tell you about my most amazing experience that I've had on a walk with a rhino. I was with a group of guests. I'm going to take a seat on one of these termite mounds and hope that my bum doesn't get bitten. So I was out on a walk, just casually chatting about all sorts of lovely things like what we've done today. And as you know, we don't want to approach game intentionally. No, I came to a massive open plain, almost like what you see at cheetah plains in that open area. So I thought, okay, and there's nothing here, no buffalo, nothing like that. And of course, we know white rhinos like the open areas. And it was winter, and down in the Eastern Cape, there's lots of green grass. That's when they get most of their rain. So it was beautiful. And I came around, went over a little crest, and there I saw some rhinos. And I thought, oh, fantastic. Now we were very far away. We had the wind in our favor. We were downwind of the animals. And we had the sun on our side. The sun was shining in the eyes of the rhinoceros. So I said to my guests, let's go to the little tree. And it was an acacia, an acacia karoo, a little forest of them. And I said, let's just sit underneath them. They sort of formed an umbrella thanks to the kudu browse line. So they sort of pruned the tree for us. So we sat like this underneath this thorn tree. And we sat and we sat and we actually sat for about half an hour and we watched, and they slowly started feeding towards us. And it was a group of rhinos. So it was two mothers with calves, one calf slightly older, almost getting ready to leave mom, and then quite a young calf. I completely forget exactly how old they were. It was quite a small one. And then there was a bull tailing them along. And so there were 5 rhinos in total. Watching them, really beautiful. And then they started coming a little bit too close. And I thought, I got a bit nervous because I thought, well, if the wind changes, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. And I don't want to get myself caught into that situation. Anyway, we sat there for a little bit longer and everything was just on my side. The rhinos ended up coming about 40 meters away from us, which was so close. It was so beautiful, almost the same distance as the zebra were away from us this morning. And then it's like, I don't know what happened. They just turned and they put their heads back down and they walked back the way they came from. Amazing. So we sat there and enjoyed that, and it was lovely. So that is my favorite story of the bush, just being able to sit and interact and watch these animals without us interfering with them. And while I find something else great to show you, let's go to Mr. Leo Smith himself and see how his morning has treated him.
Say hi and bye to Ephraim, and hi to all of you. So we're still on the search for Karula. We're pretty sure she's somewhere in that block, but unfortunately the amount of elephant and buffalo in there are not letting us walk. So we're gonna probably give it a break, and I think hopefully we'll be able to find her on the sunset safari. But now, the nearly impossible tree quiz. Brian did a very good job because people have got the family, but not the actual individual. So it was Drew and, do you remember, Brian? Drew and Lindsay, there we go, thank you, Kirsten, who got it correct. It was indeed a combretum. There's another one, but not the combretum, the most common combretum. It's the more difficult combretum. You can see that little pinkish hue on the leaves of this one. It is a veritable bush willow, Combretum calinum. There we go. Well done, Brian. Brian, I think maybe we should let Brian choose all the nearly impossible trees, because it seems he chooses more impossible ones than we do. So there we go. Well done to Drew and Lindsay for getting the family correct. The Combretum or bush willow family, and that specific one, the Combretum calinum. It does roll quite nicely off the tongue. Combretum calinum. Now, in our search for the Queen of Djuma, we have come across many other animals. And the two sets of animals we've come across the most in our search for Queen Karula is, of course, the Cape buffalo, who stared down his schnoz at me, and the elephants, who fortunately did not see me while I was walking. But here we've got some nice and close to the road. Hi, guys. Enjoying your break of the fast. Now, elephants don't truly have a break of the fast because they never fast, not by choice anyway, and they feed throughout the day and night. And, at the moment, this elephant cow is feeding off the bush pharmacy's aphrodisiac. Now, I know it's supposed to work for men. I don't know if this works for ladies, but she's eating the hairy caterpillar bush. Oh, using her tusk, she's ambi-tusked. Because by the wear on the tusks, it looks like she uses both. Oh, that's a tough caterpillar bush. She's going to try pull it straight out of the ground. Look at that. No. Oh, that hairy caterpillar bush is proving quite tough. Oh, she's decided to move on to the other hairy caterpillar bush. Maybe that one will be easier to break up. Now she might move. Oh no, she's off to the next caterpillar bush, the smallest. Maybe she'll have a bit more succeed. Now, breeding herds of elephants are a matriarchal society, and normally the oldest or biggest female is the dominant matriarch. And Debbie's wondering, will other elephants challenge the matriarch for her spot? Not really. If there is a real sort of disagreement between adult females, quite often you'll find the other adult female will break off on her own with her related offspring and start a new herd. And that's not uncommon. And even within a big group of elephants, 40 or 50, you can have maybe 4 or 5 different little family groups with a dominant female from that family group within each. And she's decided that the hairy caterpillar bush has won the battle. What she got there now? Well, a weeping wattle, much easier to break and destroy. Not quite so tough. Now, I must say, today on Djuma, how many different herds of elephant have we seen? Maybe 7 or 8. And quite often we're seeing them in the distance, in the middle of the bush. But there are an inordinate amount of elephants at the moment. Now, this female we're looking at the moment is quite old, and you can see that indentation on her skull. And if we look towards her hips and her back, you can see she's getting quite skinny. So she's possibly already on her last set of teeth. And probably around 50 years old, maybe a bit older still. And as they get older and their teeth get worn down, you can see how she starts losing condition, and it is quite sad, but I mean, she's led a long life already, and slowly she will not be able to keep up with the rest of the herd. Elephants will wait for aged or old members to a point for a couple of weeks till they sort of just move off. Sometimes if she's got a sub-adult calf or a young calf, it will stay with her. If she's got a very young calf, it often will die with her because it won't leave its mother. Now, interesting enough, there are a few cases of adoption in elephants, but it is not that common. Oh, here comes the wind. Now, you can see she's got 2 sets of tusks, and most of the elephants we see here have tusks, but occasionally we come across elephants that are tuskless, and Dark Tranquility is wondering, how much does it affect their life? It does make certain foodstuffs more difficult to obtain, but in general they will adapt quite quickly to not having tusks. And as those elephants disappear off into the bush, I think we're going to disappear off to Amanda's amazing breakfast. So it's been wonderful having you on the Sunrise Safari. So from the Killer Bees and maybe slightly more awake thumb now, we'll see you in a few short hours for the Sunset Safari.
We made it safe and sound to Quarantine Plains. Thank goodness I didn't get lost. I had a wonderful team. And I hope you enjoyed the morning with all of us out on bushwalk. Quite a big group today, and it was lots of fun, and I learned so much. And yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed it. Now, as you can see, the wind has picked up and the sun has come out, which is fantastic. And I hope that you have a fantastic day. And we will see you soon. So from myself, from VM, from Rexon, from Steph, who's silent today, we wish you well and hope you have a fantastic afternoon.
Well, you'll be happy to see that the lioness, the young lioness, has finally been given the chance to consume a little bit of this buffalo. It's just such a pity that there's hardly anything left. I think this is probably the fastest I have ever seen the Nkuhumas get rid of a buffalo, consume a buffalo. And I think that probably by this afternoon, whilst they won't have moved far, I think that this carcass will be pretty much finished. It's interesting, I was trying to work out exactly why it is that the male blocks the female from eating when he wants to mate with her. It doesn't necessarily make a massive amount of sense. I guess it's just that their hormones and the protective instinct kicks in. But as soon as she did let him mount her earlier, but it wasn't a proper mating. But it was almost like he displayed his dominance and then he let her feed. It's just an interesting question about their dynamics and the way that they work. For now, though, she has managed to eat a little bit or whatever's left. He's not interested in eating anything. I think he's already eaten his fill. And he's content to just sit and watch and wait until he has his chance to mate with her. Which actually applies not quite for the same reason, but applies to the approach of our scavengers as well. Our little jackal has curled up in the sun and gone to sleep. He's very much directly into the sun and he's almost behind the vehicle, but he is visible. And we'll just have a quick look at him, curled up in a ball. Here we go. Here he is. This is probably one of the safest and the most dangerous places to sleep, all enrolled into one. Our little jackal patiently waiting, and our hooded vulture is hidden at the moment, but it's also around, still waiting for its opportunity to eat some of the scraps. But what a lovely sighting, what a lovely morning it has been with the Nkuhumas. The rest of them have moved off into the shade. I don't think they're too far away. I think that the lionesses just did the sensible thing and moved them off somewhere safe, and we will of course be checking up on them. We've had such amazing times with the Nkuhumas. I don't think we're going to lose track of them at any point. They seem to be pretty much permanently set on being around Djuma. It is time for us to finish off with the sunrise safari. It's also time for us to make space for some of the other vehicles who've decided to come and join us. Unfortunately, I feel like they might have missed out on the best of the action that this morning had to offer. We'll have to wait and see what transpires with these lions. Now, just to let you all know, there will be a sunset safari this afternoon, so you will be able to find out what happens with these lions and what they're up to. It will, of course, be a rehearsal, so it will be a shorter drive than normal. It will be finished 1 hour earlier, but we will be out and about, and you will get to join in with us and get a little behind-the-scenes glimpse into our rehearsals. Now we reach the end. It's time to say our thank yous and our goodbyes. So a big thank you to Jean-Andre for doing an amazing job, I'm sure you'll all agree, of camera work this morning, as well as to Kirsty and Jerry in final control, and our entire tech team that keep things running behind the scenes. And then most importantly, a big thank you to all of you for joining us across the world, wherever you may happen to be. I'll catch up with you on the Sunset Safari. Until I see you then, I hope you have an amazing day wherever you happen to be.